And we'll change this up. And we will pause that one. All right. Quick, not recap, rewind, I guess you would say. For the last session, just at the end there, after Ketis chose the trust option, and you guys defeated the resulting undead exploding resistant slime, and had your conversation with Cam, the disembodied head, you're all still standing in the Monster Factory chamber with Edward and Lydia there. Who, by the way, who was carrying Cam, and how are you carrying him?
I'm assuming he probably would have went with me because I was talking to him, and I probably would have, I don't know, probably put him in my bag, maybe. I don't know, but I want him to be able to see, so I'm not really sure.
Okay, well, how, I guess, so just throwing him in your backpack?
Yeah, I guess for now, just to get a move on, just put him in my backpack, and then I'll try to figure out as we're going along a better way to set him up so he can still see.
Okay. All right, so you finished your conversation with Cam then, you've got him in your bag. Dogs are barking, sorry. And then Edward and Lydia turn to face you, both golf clapping. Let me turn this up a bit. Like they're feigning happiness at your win. Edward, though, through a disingenuous smile, he says, "Fabulous job, contestants. Now smile and show your competitors just how well you did." And he points up above the door, and the door leading out of this chamber. You see another of those projected images appear, like a screen. And on that screen, standing in a room that looks just like your own, except it's basically empty and kind of lit up, you see three just nasty-looking halflings on there. All of them are pretty battered up and bruised. One of them looks to be missing a few teeth as he scowls at you and then flips you off through the screen. And you see black smoke just pouring out of his mouth and ears and eyes. And you hear Lydia say, she says, "These three travelers are making great progress through Wonderland, although they chose Forsake when you chose Trust, so you have them to thank for that extra difficult challenge you just faced." Just reacting or doing anything?
Thanks, guys. Actually made it even more fun.
I just smile and wave at him.
Yeah, there you go.
You notice both Edward and Lydia are frowning, like outright frowning at you now. And they just kind of turn and start heading off through that door under the screen, and the halflings are like punching his fist and angry. The one that's beat up and missing teeth. They had the easy challenge, but they still got a little bit torn up in that one. But they head on through. You guys follow them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
As soon as you step through this kind of black curtain, you don't see a room. You basically are walking through a door that just has blackness through it. And as soon as you step through, this new room begins to kind of assemble around you, essentially. But Sako, or Peter rather, you notice specifically that as soon as you've stepped through, the kind of electrical sense around your eyes begins to fade as soon as you've stepped through it. Your see invisibility is gone.
Okay.
It normally lasts for, I think, until you take a rest, I think, for your third eye ability for divination. But this was the first time you've noticed it, but every time you guys go between a room, there's dispel magic that is a curtain you're walking through. And you felt it. I'm only telling you that specifically because it's not even something you would roll for. Peter would know what dispel magic feels like, so stepping through it, you immediately recognize that that's what happened.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you step on through, and you see a familiar room with a giant wheel in the middle, and you hear Lydia like just clapping and just giddy and excited. She says, "That's right, you're spinning the wheel again, only she's a bit hungrier this time. The sacrifices demanded will be a little bit brutal. And also, you've added another member to your party. I'm not really sure how you did that, so you'll need to complete 4 sacrifices if you want to pass on to the next chamber. Isn't that exciting?"
Yes, it is.
I said a little bit, yeah.
And sure enough, you look on the other side of basically directly across from you in the circular chamber, is another door, and above it are 4 torches this time, where there had been 3 previously. And Edward claps his hand, he says, "So who's first?"
Okay, I'll go again.
Okay, so you step on up to the wheel. It is, oh shit, I closed that, hang on, let me bring the page up real quick. I can actually, well, let me find it first. There it is, alright. I think it's a D8 you're going to be rolling, G.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Yep, D8. Go ahead and throw a D8. There it is. And the wheel, as you spin this giant wheel, as it's kind of tick, 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 like a Wheel of Fortune style, the one that it lands on is a picture of a backpack. And you hear Edward pipe up, he says, Aw, well this one's always a little bit disappointing. Well, Ketis, all you really need to give up this time is something of sufficient value out of your bag. So you tell me, you pick something, you pick the most valuable item you have maybe, and you throw that on the wheel, and as long as it's enough, that torch up there will light up.
I can do that.
So what do you think is the most valuable item you have that would be sufficient enough to count?
Alright, well, I guess it's only fair. It's one of the only things that I use. I bring a spell torch.
You're gonna put that down?
Probably wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, because honestly, that's one of the only items that I use on a regular basis, and it actually is a good one, so yeah, I'll put it down.
Okay. So you set that down on the wheel, and as soon as you've set it down and it kind of wiggles a little bit because the wheel was still just jittering just a little. It hadn't completely stabilized. But as soon as it kind of rolls still and sits for a second, it begins to kind of crumble as if it was made of like ashes that the wind is blowing over, and it just crumbles and the ashes disappear. They turn into black smoke that is similarly sucked up towards Edward and Lydia, and it disappears. And sure enough, right above the door, one of the torches lights up. And Edward claps. He says, I mean, it's always a little bit disappointing when it's just something, something mundane, but that's still a pretty handy item. We're still glad to see you give it up. And let me mark that off for you. I'm not going to take it off your sheet yet because it takes a second to do that. I'm just going to put it in the notes and I'll do that after.
Okay.
And then Lydia claps. She says, oh, great, now who's next?
I'll jump on it.
There we go. All right. And she says, just wonderful. Peter, step on up. Throw a d8.
Throw a d8. Let me see, which one's a d8? Let's see, third one?
Third one from the right. There you go, a 7, that is. Lydia gives a very, in fact, roll an insight check on Peter.
Insight, alright.
Yep. You see as the wheel is spinning, and she's kind of clocking where it's going to stop. You see just the fakest, most insidious and like screwed up kind of a frown cross her face. The frown is totally fake. She is giddy at this as the wheel kind of comes to a stop, and the image shown on that slice of the wheel is a clock. And Lydia says, "Oh, this one's just so awful, Peter. Especially since a man that's a little advanced in age already. This one, at this round, the clock means you're gonna have to give up 20 years of your life, and I don't know how much time you've got left." And Edward speaks up. He says, "Just to remind you too. I mean, you guys could always just take the penalty." How old was Peter, by the way, Sako? I think you only said he was like mid-30s, right? He just looks older.
Yeah, it was like mid-30s. Yeah. Like 32 or 34 or something.
All right, yeah, so I mean, you'd be mid-50s.
Well, I guess that would fit my description a little bit more.
It would. Now, mechanically, I'll put it this way. There won't be any, it's not going to be like, lose a point of con, lose a point of strength or anything like that. If you're kind of at the point there, like 50, like if you get clock again and you give it more time, you're definitely going to start losing stats for it. But at that point, I wouldn't say you're going to lose any stats, but there will be, let's say, a little more subtle mechanical impact to that. So you're not going to necessarily lose a ton. You don't have to worry about like, amnesia, or not amnesia, Alzheimer's or anything yet. It's not quite old enough for that yet. But there will be impact. I just won't necessarily be, a flat like reduction of stats or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm weighing the pros and cons. I will get my Wizards AARP card though, so I guess that's kind of good.
You could start getting like the early bird lunches, and when you get the senior discount when you go to travel and everything.
30% off of Wizards Denny's, and maybe the I can use my pasta pass.
Yeah, exactly. The unlimited pasta pass. Yeah, that's 30% plus the unlimited pasta pass at the Fantasy Olive Garden.
Yeah, but now you got to eat dinner at 3 o'clock though. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I can see that as a benefit as well.
Yeah,
I can get
well rested. Whippersnappers.
I'll be well rested no matter what, because supper time's at 2 and sleep is at 4.
Matlock's over at 2, so
let's do this.
And Murder She Wrote.
Go ahead and pull the 20 years, and I'll let them know all the benefits that I'm now about to get.
All right, so at first, when you were first looking at this, and she says that you do see just a small amount of black smoke as that initial grousing of what that meant, and then with the pseudo turning it into a positive, that starts to fade, and sure enough, though, you begin to feel. It's a relatively gradual, but over a short period of time. So, I mean, it's a gradual effect, but over the span of about 30 seconds, you just feel this heavy weight pushing on your shoulders, and just as if you are all of a sudden still holding the same amount of frame that you were trying to hold, but your just virility is just kind of sapped away from you, and you actually almost struggle to keep holding yourself up. You kind of lean against the pedestal to keep from falling over. Kiedis and Navarra, you see, looking at Peter, you see the face begin to shrink a little bit, and just kind of the eyes begin to sink in a little bit. You see the big crow's feet begin to form around the eyes and around the mouth. It just looks like he's kind of wilting away a little bit, as this is kind of sucked away from him. And sure enough, though, as soon as that's finished, the second of the 4 up top lights up. You hear Cam from Kiedis's bag say, "Oh, geez, guys, I'm sorry. I know that one's rough. I mean, when I was in here before, the companion I was with, she lost a lot of time too, and I know that's really hard to give up. So, I wish I had something left to sacrifice. You didn't have to take that for us, Peter. But I really appreciate you, stepping up to the plate. I know that's going to be a tough one for you." Kiedis, while this was going on, you were watching and paying attention to all of this, but something else was happening specifically for you in this room. While Peter was up there spinning and taking his turn, you felt something. You felt specifically something poke the palm of your hand, and you reflexively pull your hand away. You feel it again. You pull your hand away, and it followed you and started pushing into your palm again. Some sort of force is pressing down into your palm and moving in some sort of deliberate strokes on the inside of your palm, like tracing a fingertip over your palm. What do you do?
Turn to, I don't know, see if I can kind of move away to where they're not paying attention to me. See if I can see what it is.
Okay.
Assuming it's Ophelia, probably.
Roll a, I guess just we'll just roll a stealth check. We'll just call it you just subtly trying to step away a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make any kind of scene or anything, but I just don't want them to see me talking to myself or whatever, so.
Okay.
You said stealth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you guys still have disadvantage from the exhaustion. Oh shit. I just realized something. You guys, fuck, you're gonna be screwed. That exhaustion's gonna really screw you. You're not gonna really have much chance to sleep, because I'll tell, just to keep you guys all on the same page, I'll tell you guys this too, because I told Sako before you guys hopped in. This session is kind of the last regular session for quite a while, because at the very beginning of the next session, or early in the next session, next week, is kind of when you guys figure out what's actually going on. It's when you get all the answers this next session, basically. And from then on, it's non-stop through the end. So this is kind of you guys are gonna be going through quite a while without sleeping, it seems like, with exhaustion. So that's gonna really screw you guys up. Anyway, so you've kind of carefully step away. It doesn't seem like. Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't seem like they are paying too much attention, because they're focused on Peter and watching the suffering come out of Peter, of course, which is their goal. So you sit here and you just try to focus on the shapes that's being traced on your hand without panicking or making a big scene about it. And you feel the same pattern over and over. just being traced on your palm over and over again. More and more forcefully, it's being pushed into your hand. And after like a dozen or so repetitions of this, you realize that there's something familiar about this pattern, because it's something that you'd been taught back in Eifelstead with Oweli and Bishop a couple years ago. The invisible force is tracing the shapes of thieves' cant into your hand, which is the secret written language of symbols that people in the criminal underworld use to sort of communicate with each other. And right now it's making... You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now it's making two shapes in your hand. And the first one is a shape that means silence, which is sort of like warning burglars or nearby people that there might be people listening or whatever, just to be quiet. And the next shape is confirm, which thieves use to sort of ensure that other criminals or whatever have seen their message. So it's saying silence and then asking you to confirm. What do you do?
Tap where it feels like the confirm symbol is on my hand.
Okay.
Quietly
Yeah.
with my other hand.
It makes another set of symbols, and this one is secret, which thieves use to sort of like say, like a thief-like symbol for trying to remain incognito. And then it marks confirm a second time. So it's saying secret, confirm.
Okay. Again, I'll try to quietly press confirm.
Okay. And you're having this secret thieves' cant conversation with this unseen force, and it goes through a few symbols. It does one, like the number one. It's not really a thieves' cant symbol, it just does the number one. And then the shape of the room. So basically one and then the word for room. So it says one room and then a symbol that lets you know that there are magic forces afoot, and then the symbol for room again. And it says the symbol for transformation. So it's telling you magic room transformation. And then it sends one last message to you. And this the first one is a symbol of thieves used to sort of let each other know that they should wait for some sort of signal before they proceed with whatever they do, and then confirm. So it's saying wait for signal and then confirm.
Okay.
You confirm?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as that was going on, actually, that was during Peter's wheel there. So there are two. Lydia pipes up and she says, "Well, looks like we're halfway there for this round, folks. So who's up next?"
Okay.
Navarro's gonna go.
Yep.
A 1. Let's see what that is.
Oh no.
But
Oh.
I think I got a 1 before.
You didn't. No, you didn't.
Okay.
The wheel spins and spins, and you can see Lydia kind of, again, clocking it, kind of seeing for where it's going to land. And she kind of, you see a scout, like a, lips pursed together, like, ooh, this is going to hurt, kind of a look on her face. But you can definitely tell for sure that there's some happiness in that. The icon that is on this piece of the wheel that lands right in front of you is an eye. And Lydia says, "Oh, for such a pretty elf, this one's really gonna hurt, Naivara. I mean, you can kind of guess, I'm sure, but it means we're gonna need an eye from you."
Well, at least I have another one.
She kind of chuckles. She says,
Yeah.
she claps again, like in feigned happiness about it, as if she's actually happy, but of course is very annoyed by this. She says, "What a wonderfully positive way of looking at it." She says, "So I think it's only fair," and Edward interrupts. He says, "Yeah, I think it's only fair." She says, "How about we let you choose? Which eye do you want us to take?"
The left one, I guess.
Is it pretty equal for you?
Yeah, it's just an eye.
All right. And you see she holds her hand out, and in kind of like the shape of fingers where they would be kind of spidered almost, as if, she's still at a distance from you, she's not close or anything, but as if, the hand motion that would be used to pull an eyeball out, and kind of begins to pinch them down, and you feel your eye being squished even from a distance. It doesn't really hurt as much as you kind of expected it was going to, but it's certainly extremely disturbing, and you do feel that eye begin to kind of crumble, not being crushed, not in pain. It just, if you could see it, and Ketis and Peter, you guys can see this happening, it turns to that same kind of dusty ash that just kind of begins to fade away and disappear, and then is sucked out like that black smoke. And then Naivara just has a hole in her face. It looks healed over, it's not bleeding, nothing else. It's just gone. And Naivara, your vision immediately, of course, is altered pretty dramatically to the point where you are struggling for depth perception now, and mechanically you will be at disadvantage on range. We'll say at least -2 on most range shots, and then if they're too far away, if they're above we'll say 60 feet or something like that. I'll give you the specific rules for it. You'll be at disadvantage on shots, ranged attacks at any distance that's above 60 feet. -2 on ones that are closer than that.
Well, at least I get to wear a cool eye patch now.
That's fair. I mean, you could probably make something cool. Put like a little, a wolf or a panther or something on it. Something cool.
You talk like a pirate. You get a parrot.
There you go. And so, if it was an appearance thing too, Nivara could always use her alter self to make herself look like she still has 2 eyes. It would be magic cosmetics, magic prosthetic makeup. And with that, though, the third of the 4 on the above the door lights up. Cam goes, "Oh, geez, that one. Oh, wow, that one is really awful, guys. I mean, like, I appreciate you not even asking me. I mean, I've got the 2 eyes, but it's pretty much all I've got. So, I mean, thank you for taking those lumps for me." But 3 of them are lit up, and Edward claps. He says, "Well, it looks like we're almost there. You guys have just been so happy to sacrifice so much. You guys must really want this." And he says, "Oh, what is it that you guys are after again?"
Well, I'm assuming they probably know what it is anyway.
Have we told them?
I'm guessing they can probably read our minds and know anyway. So I don't think we've said anything yet, though.
Okay, but because you guys kind of paused for a second and didn't answer, he actually looks down and he looks like he's flipping through papers, but there's nothing there. And finding... Oh, shit, I closed the page. Give me 1 second. Looking, as if he's scrolling through something, though. Not there. Still getting a little bit adjusted to playing on one screen here. You'd think I'd have it down by now. It's still a little bit tough there, but... That's fine. He says, "Oh wow, you guys are here for the Statera scales. No wonder you're so dedicated and working so hard to make yourselves there succeed here. Well, I guess let's just see how the rest of the game goes, huh?" And you still have a 4th torch to light, so somebody has got to roll again.
Okay.
Ketis, you did 1, and you're gonna go ahead and step up for another one. He says,
"Yeah, I'll take one for the head of the team."
He says, "Let's see. You've already given up, a very fantastic ring and some of your own vitality. That's pretty brave of you, Ketis. Let's see what you got." Oh. Okay. This one, Edward is paying closer attention to, and as it's spinning around, he's just got the most gleeful look on his face. Just absolutely giddy, like so much so that it's even a little bit uncomfortable for you. What is rolling around on this wheel, and you see it coming, like you can kind of tell that this is coming. And at first there's kind of a sense of just like trepidation, like worry, like severe, maybe the most worry that you've been so far in here. The wedge of the wheel that is about to stop right in front of you has a skull on it. And where it lands, he says, "Ooh, that one's really tough. I'm afraid, Ketis, I can't tell you exactly what that means just yet, but, well, let's just say that what a skull means in this round is at some point in the near future you will face some pretty bad luck." So what do you say? You want to accept that one, or would you rather just take the penalty?
Bad luck's always kind of fun. It could be like a surprise.
He is trying to cover his glee, but he is absolutely just giddy. Like he would be dancing on his tippy toes right now if it wouldn't, show off too much. He is absolutely gleeful right now that you got that skull. Let me put that in here. Got to take notes. All right. And with that, with your accepting of that, they both kind of are clapping and smiling and cheering, and you hear more kind of the annoying ringing sound that goes off each time you guys finish a room. And they Edward says, "Oh, well, that was a pretty tough round. Let's see, we lost 20 years of life, we lost an eye, we lost a very powerful ring, and maybe worst of all, who yet knows, we lost some luck. But this next challenge, this is going to be a breeze, I promise." And he kind of motions off towards the next room. After the fourth one lit up, of course, the door opened. You going through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And as you guys walk through that pitch black door, you step into a new chamber, another just like that huge circular chamber, but about the same dimensions as the ones you just left, only this one you also know because there is a single pedestal in the middle of it with 2 buttons on it and a screen that's sort of wrapped around the outside of this room with sort of like digitized cartoon versions of your guys' faces on it. And you hear Edward say, "I mean, it's going to be a breeze if you make the right decision." And then Lydia speaks up. She says, "It's time for another round of Trust or Forsake. You know the deal. Step up to the plate and you'll be matched up against an opponent, and then you pick the button that seems right for you." And it is going to be... It is Peter's turn.
All right, we trusted last time, didn't we, guys?
Well, so as soon as this happens, and the pictures that are above, the kind of digitized, like pixelated versions of your guys' faces, it kind of cycles through and then eventually slows down, and it shows Peter's face. And you hear Cam pipe up as soon as Edward says "Peter," and he's got his arms out towards you, like kind of in a welcoming gesture, trying to kind of beckon you up onto the stage to hit the pedestal. Cam pipes up from Ketis's backpack, and he says, "You realize you have to choose Forsake, right? I mean, it's just basic game theory. You came in here with some friends, I get it. It's possible they're the opposing team, but there's other people here too. Just so forsake them, man. Fuck it." And you're being beckoned up to the stage with the 2 buttons.
All right.
You can still talk amongst the team and everything. You just got to, what's decided that you choose.
What do you think, guys? I'm thinking Forsake. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
That wasn't hard. You're like, yeah, fuck it, fine.
Well, see, I'm thinking there might be like, this little happy ending thing if we do the right thing every time, but I'm kind of guessing that, Jeremy's kind of a dick and wouldn't do that. So I guess
wait.
we're killing ourselves.
Why is this me? Yeah, Sako knows for sure too. Sako worked with me a long time. He knows I'm a dick.
I'm an old man now, so I'm grumpy.
Exactly.
I lost 20 years, so Forsake.
The mid-50s
So
guys.
I'm gonna go ahead and commit.
All right, so you
committing.
smack the Forsake button on the table there, or on the pedestal, and in big lit up letters appear above the door, and it says, "You chose Forsake." And hang on. And then big big lit up letters, they chose Trust.
Of course.
You assholes, that's funny. All right, and sure enough, though, that's that room is now completed. The 2 of them, Edward and Lydia, both just they actually don't even seem mad this time. They're just like giggling about it and saying, "Well, I mean, so what that means, since you guys chose Forsake and they chose Trust, it means that you guys, let me look that up the chart here. I know what it is, but yeah, you guys forsook and they trusted. So you guys on the next room get to face the challenge in its easiest possible outcome. Your competitors, on the other hand, are going to be facing the challenge in the most extreme difficulty. And they may not survive, but who cares about them? You forsook them anyway, right? Fuck them." And,
Woo-woo.
and they kind of, motion off, both of them in tandem. Lydia standing on the left, and she holds her left arm out towards the door. Edward on the right, holding his right arm out towards the door. Kind of motioning you guys along to go into the next chamber. You going?
Okay.
Yep.
All 3 of you roll a perception. Keep in mind, you guys are pretty badly beat up still. Like, Navarra, you're almost half HPs. Ketis, you've got about 2/3 of your HP. Sako, you're almost half also. Jeez. Sako got a fucking 27 on his perception roll, and that's with disadvantage.
I'm a perceptive old man now.
Yeah, really. You're getting extra wise in your old age. As you guys are stepping by them, Ketis and Peter, you both notice that Navarro's kind of in the middle. Ketis, you're walking right by Edward. Peter, you're walking right by Lydia. As you guys step by them, they're a little bit blurry. That, like, from a distance, it's a little harder to tell, but when you're close to them, you see that they're blurry. They don't look like they look like a projection. They don't look like they're really even there, or maybe that they're visage, what they look like, is being altered somehow. And you notice this, as you're walking very close to them. And you guys step on into the next chamber there. And forgot about this one. You step forward into the next chamber, and as you enter the doorway, you step onto a big 5-foot square. All three of you are kind of standing on this giant square of white light. And the word "start" is printed on this square, and it's down on the floor, basically what you're stepping on. And as soon as you step on it, the door is just gone behind you, and you hear a loud click as a blue square of the same size illuminates right in front of this one, and then another, and then a green square, and then there's a word written on this green square. And then this pattern continues with all these multicolored squares just sort of appearing, forming this winding path that kind of winds all the way around you. You're standing on what Ben and Becky and Sako would recognize as a board game. And as you look down, you realize this platform is slightly elevated in the air, and the floor below it, so basically you guys are standing in the elevated part, but the floor below it is covered in this bubbling green liquid. And there's just this acrid smell in here, like acidic kind of a smell. And from above you, you realize that the ceiling is just clouded with this swarm of bats that are all squealing, and some of the bats start to fly down in your direction, but then everything sorts of freezes. And you hear Lydia say, "Oh dear, this shouldn't have manifested this way. You guys won the last round. Pardon our mess." And suddenly you see a cloud of that black smog that's been sort of you emitting it every time you guys have complained in this environment. And it quickly sort of lowers out from the ceiling like a curtain, and the board game is just kind of dissolved and is missing. The room has sort of been re-outfitted, and instead of standing in the start square of a board game, you're now standing behind podiums, and you have these bright lights in your face. The three of you are standing at these three podiums, standing side by side, and these bright lights are right in your face, and you can hear coming in from the direction behind these lights that are kind of blinding you a little bit. You hear this thunderous applause from this large studio audience. And as you look around... Damn, that's as loud as it's going to go? All right, well, you're going to have to deal with that. You hear this like a studio audience, basically, and you look around and you realize that you're standing in a sort of garishly decorated game show, like a set of a game show. Can you guys hear the annoying music?
Mm.
A little bit, yeah.
All right.
Yep.
That's as loud as I can get it to go. So, and you hear Edward say, "Live from the inescapable depths of Wonderland, it's time for another round of Heart Attack, the heroic dating show. And here are your fabulous hosts, Lydia and Edward." And you hear, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa," like just cheering, and crowds like just being obnoxiously clapping and cheering. And you see these two elves, and I put that in air quotes because they're, you get the impression that they're not, of course. They're spirits of some kind. You just don't know. They don't appear to have corporeal forms. They appear in front of you, and they're holding those weird, like, skinny microphones as they host you in this dating show called Heart Attack. And there's a lot of applause, and there's this voguing from these two, and the audience is just fucking eating it up, and they're wearing different outfits now. They're wearing, like, these crimson and silver and gold pantsuits, and they look just fucking excellent, and they have these giant-ass sunglasses on. Lydia speaks up. She says, "Welcome to Heart Attack. Are you three brave heroes ready for your only chance at love?"
Sure.
Why not?
Peter? And they kind of look at you, and the camera pans over to your direction.
I'm getting too old for this shit, but yeah.
So next to you, a curtain, like a fabric curtain, screen, but like a fabric curtain, not like a TV screen, raises up, and behind it you see that there's a light from behind that's illuminating this kind of humanoid-shaped silhouette, but it's clearly not the silhouette of a living person. You can actually tell it looks like it's a mannequin, because it has these segmented arms, and it's moving basically like that scene from Home Alone where Kevin's trying to convince the wet bandits that there's this big party happening, like a moving things that he sets up. It's moving like that, like in jerky motions, like a robot. So it's moving around like a mannequin or a marionette or whatever, sort of being moved by a puppet, and it's kind of like waving at you guys in this kind of like really mechanical, flirty motion. And Edward says, "We're going to ask you a series of questions to measure your compatibility with our hot contestant. Whoever charts with the highest lovability quotient will get a hot date out of it. Are you three ready?"
Let's do it.
Let's go.
The silhouette, like the arm is raised up. You can almost see the strings that are holding this mannequin up. Raises the arm up in front of the mouth, and then like blows a kiss kind of a motion, like throws the arm out. And all right, Edward says, "Question 1. We'll go ahead and get ready for our contestant, or we'll go ahead and read for our contestant because they're very shy." And as you see, the silhouette kind of shrugs sheepishly behind the curtain. Question 1. Naivara, what is your ideal first date?
Aw. Taking a walk in the woods.
You hear the crowd go, oh, like as if that's cute, like that kind of an awe sound coming from the crowd behind all these lights. The silhouette kind of brings a hand up to where its mouth would be, as if it was like sheepishly, maybe shyly responding. Edward says, "Oh, that is just so sweet." And Lydia says, "Peter, same question. Your ideal first date?"
Sitting on the porch, watching my jar of bees fly around, and petting my cat.
The crowd doesn't respond too much. The silhouette like kind of shrinks away a little bit, and Lydia says, "Oh, so romantic. I love bees." And Edward says, "I love your honesty." Ketis, new question. You're pretty famous back home, right? Say that you and our contestant are out on a date, and one of your fans recognizes you on the street. How do you respond to that situation?
Well, first of all, I will tell them no flash photography, please, and then I will sign their autograph. I'll let them kiss the back of my hand, and then they can grovel. And then after that, I'll tell my date, yep, I'm a really down-to-earth guy. So, my fans love me. I'm back at home.
The crowd is just cheering maniacally. You see the silhouette kind of like fanning itself, as if it's like. And Edward says, "Wow, I mean that sounds like a lucky lady back home." Peter, new question. Why shouldn't the contestant choose our two competitors, or choose your two competitors?
Age and wisdom. I've got that.
You sure do now. That's good. The crowd kind of is stomping their feet, just going woo woo woo, just cheering. The silhouette is kind of just leaning back and heads tilted off to the side a little bit, like coquettishly. Lydia kind of nods a little bit. She's like, I could see that. That's good. The silver fox type. She says, Kita, same question. Why should the contestant choose you?
No, because the other people smell bad. So.
And you hear the crowd just like erupt in laughter. They're like banging their hands on their wooden hands on their wooden knees. Oh, yes. It sounds also, you're hearing like wood when they're clapping together. It sounds like wood banging against wood. You're kind of putting together that the crowd is also made up of these mannequins. Edward and Lydia both are kind of just laughing and clapping at their knees. And Edward pipes up. He says, Navarre, next question. What does it mean to be a hero?
I don't know. Sacrificing yourself for everybody else, helping those that need it.
and Lydia kind of has a big grin on her face, and she says, "And you would probably know that more than most, huh?" And she's kind of motioning at an eye, like is pointing at her eye. And the crowd is they're like going like ooh, as if that's a mean response or something.
That's cold-blooded.
And when you say that, Sako, some of that black smoke, Peter, some of the black smoke comes out of your mouth. And they're still kind of voguing and kind of playing to the camera. There's no camera here, but they're playing to as if one was there. With that, you hear a little like a bell ringing in the distance, and the audience applauds your answer, Navarra. And there's this little music stinger kind of playing you out, and the two elves, again with air quotes, pose with their big stupid sunglasses as if the camera were pointed at them. And then Edward says, "Well, it sounds like our contestant has made their decision. Let's see who they chose for their hot date." And that curtain that's beside all of you kind of drops to the ground, and you can see the figure that's casting that, or had been casting the silhouette. It's another one of those marionettes, of course, and it's kind of shuddering and convulsing. And then it collapses to the ground, like one of its legs is just repeatedly like kicking out from underneath it, and it couldn't stand up anymore, and it's just repeatedly lifting up and thumping into the ground like a broken robot. But all of you see this kind of creepy display, and it's just not stopping. The leg is just thump, thump, thump on the ground. And Edward says, well, I mean, I guess we've learned everything we needed to know, so let's just maybe call it a draw? This has frankly gotten a little too weird even for us. You guys agree? Call it a draw?
Alright, fair enough.
Sure thing.
You miss out on a date with a wooden mannequin. Yeah. You're gonna go to the department store and dress it.
There you go. Where... Got some of these things end up being a real pain trying to get these set up. There we go. Alright. And Edward says, "Oh, wait, I guess we still need to find out," because you guys remember we're on the easy mode version. "I guess we still need to find out how your opponents fared in the last round of Trust or Forsake." Where is it? There it is. And a screen appears behind the two of them, and it lights up, and you see three figures standing on a glowing square labeled Finish. you recognize that they were on that board game that loaded into your room previously that you guys didn't have to do because you guys forsook and they trusted, so you got the easy mode version. It's all sprawled out behind them. It takes you a second to recognize them because of all the sacrifices they've gone through here in Wonderland. It's changed them pretty dramatically. But it's the 3 people that you met in the Morning Wilds that helped Peter up the cliff. It's Rowan and Antonia and Lord Trummond Caius. They look rough. Trummond is by far the worst off. First of all, he's no longer looking resplendent and noble anymore. He's aged. It looks probably into his late 40s, and his hair's gone, or has gone into like a bright silver, and he looks like he's pretty severely injured. He's laying on Antonia's lap, and she's trying to comfort him, but she's not looking at him. She's looking kind of out to nowhere, and she's doing so. You realize that she's wearing a bandage wrapped around her head that's just covering her eyes. Her eyes are completely covered. It doesn't look like she can see. She doesn't look to be looking at anything. And Rowan is just standing there and facing the screen. He looks up with it. He looks kind of withered and beat up, really, kind of worn down. You see his beard is just missing these big patches that look like they've been burned away. The skin is like red and raw underneath. You can't hear anyone from the other side. This is just a screen, but you can tell that Trummond is just like wailing, and this column of black smoke is just pouring out of him. And as Rowan recognizes you guys on the other side of the screen, you see him mouth the words clear as day, "Why?" And then the screen shuts off. And the 2 elves, they seem to notice that you guys aren't like having a great time. And Lydia says, "You 3 seem to be pretty down in the dumps. How would you like a bonus round?"
Bonus round, huh? Okay.
Cam, from your backpack, he's actually trying to be a little bit quiet this time when he says this. From your backpack, he says, the bonus round is how I ended up getting trapped here in the first place. I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, well, up to you guys then. Skip it.
Well, really, as soon as you guys are even like pausing a second and hadn't answered immediately, Edward is kind of like awkwardly tapping his fingers together. He's like, "It's kind of not optional, though." And another pitch black door opens up, and as they disappear through it, he and Lydia, it leads you into the next chamber, which I'm assuming you guys are popping into unless you guys want to hang out here.
Okay.
Yep, gotta move on.
There you go. All right. Well, the next chamber, you're in another large circular room about the same dimensions as the one you just left, and in front of you are 3 large platforms. They're not very high up, about 1.5 feet off the ground, and each of them has a huge multicolored neon sign hanging above it. And one says escape game, one says healing game, and one says recovery game. And as you walk in, you hear Lydia say, "Oh, wait a moment, one of you has already played the escape game." And at that, the pedestal dissolves into black smoke and wafts up into the ceiling. So you're just left with 2 platforms that say healing game and recovery game, and you hear Edward say, "Well, friends, for the bonus round here, you get to decide which game you want to play. Both are terrific little diversions, but this time you only get to pick one."
What do you guys think?
Recovery?
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Can we ask them specifically what the recovery does?
I'm afraid I can't give you too many details, but to put it simply, the recovery may or may not allow you to, let's say, recover some of your spent energy while you've been in here, whereas the healing would probably allow you to maybe bend the rules of Wonderland a bit and maybe allow you to get some of your lost vitality back.
I'm thinking recovery. What do you think, guys?
Sure.
Hang on, I'll let my dogs in. Esther's crying. Come on, doggy. Okay. All right. And as you guys are kind of, deciding and choosing between them, Cam did tell you that he, of course, played the escape game, and he mentioned earlier, and you've kind of put it together, this was where Elspeth kind of betrayed him, left him here, and she escaped. Which, of course, you guys can't play that game, so because that one's already gone. But the two choices that you had there, you're going to choose recovery. Lydia says, well, we know some of you are faring a little bit worse than the others, so we thought we'd give you the chance to balance out some of your current states of well-being. So the recovery game will allow you to transfer some of your energy over to a friend, but in so doing, you'll experience a bit of energy degradation during the transfer. So they'll only receive half of the, let's say, equivalent energy that you send in their direction. So you're going to hit recovery?
It's fine with me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so you smack that. The room changes around you to kind of, you can tell it's not real, but to give the impression of being like a calming underground spring. As soon as this room kind of changes around you, the three of you are standing at pedestals, and Cam is floating at a fourth pedestal. So there's four total, and Cam is just floating in front of one of the pedestals there, just a floating head, disembodied. And in front of you on these pedestals are each of you are three buttons, one labeled Cam, and then for Nivara there's one labeled Peter and Ketis, and then of course for so on. Basically you have a button for each person. And what you can do here is for recovery is not going to be super helpful because you guys didn't burn through much. You can get things back like your spell slots, and then depending on what you're willing to give up, you might be able to recoup some of the sacrifices given by some of the other players. But the cost is pretty significant, so you'd have to give up essentially twice as much to get the other person's single thing back, if that makes sense. So to get Peter's ring finger back, Ketos would have to give up 2 fingers, that kind of thing. And you know what though, just for the sake of, because you're going to probably need it, I would say that they even allow you to go ahead and use the healing in here as well. So if you wanted to give up 2 HPs to heal, one of your friends 1 HP. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So Edward and Lydia are just standing off to the side. Cam says, I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm just ahead, so I don't really have a lot to give, so if you probably want to abstain from this challenge, I'm actually good to go. I'm full hit points and everything, it's just that there's only 4 of them. What are you guys going to do?
Well, I don't think I even used any spell slots. Do you guys need any?
You used 1, G.
Okay.
Nivara used a 1 second, 2/3, and 1/4. Peter, I think you only used cantrips. Yeah, I think you only used cantrips last time.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Health-wise, we're all about midway.
Ketis has more spare. Nivara is... actually, you're the worst off right now, Peter. You're almost halfway dead. Nivara is almost to halfway. Ketis is about 25% or so beat up. He's got about 75% of his health left. You can actually use the party window. If you guys look at the party window, there's a little health gauge on there, I think. Yeah, party sheet. Yeah. So hit the party sheet, which I think is your top right button. It looks like two heads next to each other. It'll show your party there with their stats in it. I think it shows. Let me look at my other window.
It's showing a 0 under other.
Yeah.
Inventory is blank.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. For me, I can see it. You guys can't see that part, I guess. It shows a little health gauge on everybody, but yeah, basically, Ketis is about 75%, Nivara's probably 50, and Peter, you're 45. Somewhere there.
I'm good if you guys are.
Well, remember, you can't heal, so this is kind of your only chance to level things out if you chose to do so.
Yeah, maybe we should, just in case. I don't know. Can I expend 20 hit points and give Peter 10?
Yep.
I'll do that. Is that okay, Peter?
I've got some good portents as well, so if I really need to, I could do some good saving. Let's, if you could spare it, go for it, but don't expend too much.
Well, that's fine. We'll just have to make sure that if we fight anything again, that we hit it with everything that we have, basically. So, because you guys don't need spell slots to heal, because we can't heal anyway. So
that's true. All offense at this point.
I'll do that. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, that's fine.
That way you're not
Thank
so close to death. Yeah, no problem.
All right, you for 10 that brings up to 37. There we go. You smack the button to transfer to Peter, and you feel well. I mean, you see this too. Of course, you see some of that black smoke kind of being pulled out of you, and Peter, you begin to feel just slightly better. Not a whole lot. About 10% better. Just from the transfer, like an infusion. And with that, any other moves to make in here?
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm okay with being old and fingerless. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
just
going
last
to be able to
night.
get my lost HP back anyway. It's not worth you guys giving up stuff for that. You know,
And I
and
just-
then my ring.
I just
I
thought
like
about
that
the-
ring, but it's not that worth it. So.
Yeah, and I just thought about that too for Navarre to be able to get hers, for her to get her one eye back, one of you would have to give up both eyes, or each
Yeah.
of you give up one eye to get her one eye back. And you guys don't. Well, I guess Peter probably has alter self or something, but
Yeah,
All right.
Toki's got 2 eyes.
that's true. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't matter for you. I mean, it still would for ranged, which for a caster could be pretty significant. But Edward says, "All right, guys, good choice, good choice. On we go, shall we?"
Cool.
And
Sure.
the next door opens, and you head on through this one. You head on through the stone door into the inky blackness, and it's the same room with that big old wheel of sacrifice in the middle of it again. And Edward says, "It's the wheel of sacrifice. You guys know the score. Just spin it around, light up those torches." And Lydia says, "Oh, but guys, this round, as you might expect, the sacrifices will be a little bit more intense than they have been. But I know that the 3 of you, well, I mean the 4 of you, have it in you. Who's going first?" And of course, across from you, the door there's 4 torches on the top.
Man, all good.
Now the ones in this one are gonna be pretty brutal, so keep that in mind. You gonna throw?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, and this one, as it's spinning around, they're both almost look like they're kind of legitimately nonplussed, Edward and Lydia. The one that wheels around this time is a big old question mark. And Edward says, well, I mean, we saw this in the first round when Navarra chose to give up her spell for Cure Wounds, but for really this one, you really need to come up with something of yourself that you believe is of an equivalent value for this far in the game. And here's the rub. If you choose to give up something that isn't significant enough, we're going to go ahead and take it anyway, but it won't count as a sacrifice. So make sure that it's enough. So you need to come up with something. Now, it doesn't need to be tangible. It doesn't need to be an item. It doesn't need to be Navarra did a spell, of course, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be knowledge. It could be something that you know about. It could be a skill you have, anything like that. But you can't get it back. It's going to be gone. And it doesn't need to be one thing either. It could be multiple things. Like you could give in multiple things if you wanted to. It just needs to total an equivalent value for the 3rd round here. That's going to be pretty brutal. What do you think?
All right, let me see.
You could give up your proficiency in some things, but again, it would need to be stuff that has value.
Mm. Yeah. All right. I will give up my maneuver of parry, which is the one that I use the most.
As you kind of say that, and you've kind of see the formulation of these 2 kind of cross swords banging against each other, just floating in air, made up of that similar kind of black smog over the wheel. And you see Edward bring one hand up to his jaw, and he's kind of stroking. There's no beard there, but he's stroking as if it was a beard. And he says, you think that's enough? And I'm not telling you whether it is or not. I'm letting you decide whether you think it's enough or not.
All right, I do like that one, but a little bit more too. And again, I don't use this one constantly, but I have used it a few times, so 2 of them together will give up also my Great Bonfire as well.
Okay, and you see the another icon appear around it, and just shows 2 sticks, like 2 logs crossed with a little fire growing on top of it. He says, "What do you think now? You think that'll be enough there? That it?"
I hope so.
All right, so you smack the button, and he sits there for a second, kind of looking at those. You see both of those 2 things fade out. Create bonfire was the other.
And that Great Bonfire is one of the only things that I have that's not necrotic damage too, so pretty much the only thing I have.
Yeah, it does kind of screw you potentially on that. But those 2 things fade, and sure enough, your knowledge of it. In fact, when you kind of learned how to kind of do how to go over the whole maneuver. Do you remember back when you were training with Bishop and Oweli, when she was teaching you those maneuvers?
That year, or almost a year period, right?
It was a year. Yeah, exactly. Where you had a kind of a time off that Odim gave you to just train and handle it on your own. And the memories of that, where we were flipping off of walls and trying to jump around Oweli and keep knocking her blades away and things like that. All the kind of time spent there are beginning to get fuzzy and beginning to kind of just dissipate until they're just not there anymore. You still remember the time you spent, you just don't remember the specific motion that it took to kind of use your, flick your wrist in just such a way to knock the blades away from you, that kind of thing. That begins to fade along with your... maybe I'll dispute that too. This one doesn't even need to be on. Yeah, we'll do it later. All right. Anyway, along with the knowledge of how to create fire with your mind, both of those begin to fade until they're gone, and the first torch of 4 above the door lights up. And Lydia claps. She says, "Wonderful. Who's next?"
I'll go next.
Step on up, Peter. That is... She says, "Well, we've also seen this one before, but this late in the game, I mean, that you guys even made it this far is surprising enough, but of course we're bound to get a few repeats. This one, dear Peter, is, and the wheel, the slice in front of the wheel is showing a torso, like a human torso with its arms up. This one is... Well, this is how you get to be just a floating head like Cam. This one is body. And, well, let's just say, dear Peter, I mean, there's not a lot of, room for you to be able to give this up. It's going to cost you 35 of your max HP. She just says vitality, but mechanically it's going to be max 35 HP subtracted if you chose to forsake it.
Wow, that's actually a lot.
Yeah, your max HP would be 73.
And what's the other options?
There are no other options except taking a penalty. And you don't know what a penalty is.
Could I ask him what the penalties would entail?
Let's see. Edward pipes up. He says, "You know what? Normally we don't tell competitors that, but I'll go ahead and tell you since we're this late in the game already. If you choose to accept the penalty here, you don't have to take this specific sacrifice, but your team will have to make one more." And he kind of points up above the door, and where there are... you'll also have bad luck, by the way. You'll have disadvantage from here out, which you already have because of the exhaustion anyways. But the 4 torches up there, a 5th one is kind of just barely fading into existence there.
Oof.
Means you got to stay in this chamber even longer.
I'm going to have to probably... I'm going to have to take that hit point hit. That'll drop me down to 70...
73 will be your new max HPs.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to take that then. We'll drop my HP.
And they are just fucking elated. They're just just jumping up, like bouncing on their tippy toes with joy, and just clapping and saying, "Just so wonderful! I can't imagine how having such a better team of folks come through that are just so positive about sacrificing so much. Wonderful job, Peter. Wonderful job." I'm not going to take any further. Actually, yeah, we'll scale the HP so that you're because you were at about after those HPs you were at like 55-ish%. So I'm going to go ahead and like adjust that so that you're still at 55, rather than having a lowered max and reduced amount of HPs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm at 37 damage right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix it real quick. 0.55 would be, yeah, bump you 55 minus 73. Alright, only 18 wounds now. There. So you're still at the same percentage that you were at before. Does that make sense? I just rescaled it, but your percentage is still the same.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright. And that lights up a second one. You have 2 to go. And Edward says, step right up, who's next?
Alrighty, here we go. Oh no. Dang it.
Hang on. I didn't see what it was yet. I was taking notes. Well, I mean, you saw this. You had this in the first round, and then Sako Kitas just had it. It is the question mark. And Lydia says, "Well, I guess you know how this one goes now, or by now. So, what is it that you think is equivalent to so much of Peter's vitality and so much of Kitas's toolbox?"
Oh boy. What do I have?
Remember, it doesn't have to be anything tangible. You guys have hit every option except for one. There's only one option in here that you guys have not gotten so far.
It's the become a floating head option.
Well, I mean, the Cam's result was actually because of the escape room, not just the sacrifice. He had given up sacrifices also before that, but the escape room is what forced him to be stuck here forever. That's just a floating head.
So I can give up knowledge, right?
Yes, it needs to be of equivalent value.
Okay, so equivalent value to me though, right? Not to somebody else?
I mean, simple answer, yes. I guess, I mean, I can't tell you if it'll be enough or not, because that wouldn't be any fun, but, I mean, you can put, I guess, what are you asking? Like, clarify the question, and then I can, let you know if it would work or not.
So I was thinking, because Peter gave up a ton of health, and he gave up a bunch of stuff, so I was thinking probably, like, the knowledge of my sisters, because I had such a strong bond with them to begin with, that would be something equivalent.
That's fair. I mean, I would say yes, you could. Whether narratively you would or not is the bigger question. Whether Naivara would give that up or not. I mean, there's a lot of painful memories there too, of course. Specifically with the imprisonment and then watching Kitas kill them, not knowing that that's what he was doing, of course. But the painful parts would be easier to give up, of course. But there's still a lot of the childhood memories and stuff and the growing up stuff that you'd be giving up. You know what? Shit. That's kind of the one that you guys haven't rolled yet is brain, like memories and things like that. But anyways, I mean, tell you what, you put it on the table, whatever it is that you're willing to give up, and then we'll do the rolls and see how it goes.
All right. I guess I'll put that up there.
You see Lydia clap her hands. She says, "Just delicious." What do you think, though? Is that it? I mean, do you think that'll be enough?
What if, I don't know if this is allowed, but what if I sweeten the deal too, and I actually just have to remember killing her sisters over and over again, because obviously her and I have become friends. So, one other thing to keep me up at night. So.
Edward says, "I'm afraid that's not how it works. Whoever spins the wheel is the one that has to make the sacrifice."
All right, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, well, based on how close I am to my sisters, I'd say that's enough.
You see her kind of smirk, like almost frown, kind of a smirk, and you hit the button, and that kind of embodiment of that memory, in fact, specifically the part you were picturing as this memory is taken from you was specifically playing in the leaves at the base of the tree where your guys' house was in the woods. In a nice autumnal reds and oranges everywhere, nice leaves just blanketing the forest, and playing in the dirt down there. And you had this little carved wooden stag, like a deer, that you were playing with one of your sisters. And it begins to fade, and her face is blurry, and you can't picture it anymore. And then one of your other sisters that was sitting next to you that had a little carved wolf that she was playing with, all of you kind of together in the dirt, and her face begins to fade away until you can't picture it anymore. And all three of them begin to fade out completely. And you notice that there's still one there that was already faded for some reason. That is so strange that this whole thing is beginning to fade, but there was one that was already a hole burned in this memory, like a cigarette pushed through old film, or an old Polaroid. But the rest of it kind of begins to melt around it until all of it looks just like that. All of it is just this kind of faded hole that you can't remember any of the details of this image that was so clear to you 15 seconds before. And sure enough, it's gone, and the third of 4 torches above the door lights up. And Lydia says, well, that one's a little sad, just wonderful. And she's like happy, obviously, about it. She says, okay, well, I guess we're back to the 4th one. Who's going to make a second spin? Or maybe your mystery guest, are you going to make him do it? What's the plan?
Well, I don't know, Peter's pretty beat up, so it's either me or you or the head.
You want about to see about the head?
Cam says, from Ketis' backpack, Cam says, guys, we kind of had a deal. I don't really have much to give. I've kind of given everything I can.
The deal was to help you get through this and come with us.
He doesn't reply. He'll do it if you're going to make him do it. He may not survive. Depends on what it comes out to be, but
it's up to you guys.
I'm open to whatever. I could do it again, but I can't take another hit point roll.
That's what I'm thinking.
Peter would be pretty fucked. He's already he's at 8th level HPs, and he's 14th level.
All right, I'll go again. Hopefully, no more 8s.
Oh.
Oh no, was that the eye?
I kind of don't know how we're going to handle this. Because as that wheel is spinning, you see the wedge coming around, and there's just dread, just a solid stone in your stomach, as sure enough, the wedge of the wheel that's landing in front of you is the eye.
Oh, God. Not sure I can be blind, guys.
Is it too late to make Cam go?
Well, you can take the penalty. It means she'll have bad luck for the rest of it. Meaning disadvantage, not bad luck like what Ketis has. Ketis' bad luck is a very specific thing, and that was the impression that you got from Edward. But the bad luck of taking a penalty means she'll be at disadvantage on everything from here out until you guys get out of Wonderland.
Yeah, but that also means somebody else has to go again.
Exactly, yeah, somebody else has to roll. Or you lose your other eye.
Let's just make Cam go.
How does your 1,000 forms work? It's concentration up to an hour. That only lasts for an hour, so that wouldn't work. How long does Alter Self last? I'm trying to think if you have some means of... in forms, in animal forms, you'd still be able to see. Which you can kind of do long-term, but, it would mean being blind most of the time, of course. Anytime you're not in animal form. I feel like Alter Self, which I think you have... Let me look up Alter Self. That you could give yourself eyes back, but I don't know how long it lasts, or if it would be something you could keep up all the time, like if you just casted it every day or something. Alter Self, nope, concentration up to an hour. So you'd have to cast it every hour. Anytime you want to see something, you'd have to cast it for the next hour. So once to start the movie, and then once halfway through to finish the movie.
Oh, man.
Just take the penalty. Make Cam go.
Alright, I guess take the penalty.
Alright, let me make some notes here. And you're gonna make Cam go.
What do you guys think? Make the head go?
So you guys, accept the penalty, and Edward is just frowning, like Navarre. I know it sounds bad, but come on, I mean, it would look pretty bitchin' to have a really cool bandana wrapped around your head, right? He's just trying to sell it to you as if it's going to be.
But I really want my eye patch.
It's like having two. That's twice as good, isn't it? But they've accepted the penalty, and you see the fifth light above the door, torch above the door, light fade into appearance. That doesn't count for this sacrifice either, by the way. It means that it's not one more. It means this sacrifice didn't happen, and still one more. You understand that, right?
Oh, no.
That didn't count for your sacrifice, so it's basically, yeah, so it's basically, there's two more now, yes. Cam would have to do one and still one more after that.
That's fine, the head can go and then I can do another one.
Is that what you're going to do?
If that's alright with you guys.
You got two eyes, Cam.
It's true.
Alright. He is grumbling and very much not happy. He said this was not our arrangement, but you guys have given up so much. I mean, especially if we can make it through this and you can get me out of here, honestly, it's better than just being stuck in here suffering forever. So I'll do it. And he floats up out of your bag and floats over to the podium there and presses a button to spin the wheel. Well, he can't do that. He doesn't have the parts for that, so... he spins the wheel and gives it, a nice solid one to make sure that it goes around one whole rotation. And it goes around that one whole rotation, then it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and comes back around, and it lands on I. And he is outright screaming in anger and frustration as one of the eyes, his left also, in his head is kind of turned to this dust that becomes this black smoke and is pulled out. And he doesn't even say anything. His jaw is just wired shut practically, just in fury, and he floats himself back over towards Ketis's bag and goes into Ketis's bag. Doesn't say a word. The fourth of the five now lamps above the door is now lit. There's one left.
Okay.
Edward is just clapping and happy. He's like, "We knew we'd get it. We knew we'd get him." They're just happy that they're kind of burning more off of Cam, and there was just the amount of smoke coming out of him was obscuring his face so much that there was so much black smoke coming off of him. There we go. All right. All right. You're gonna go again, Ketis?
Yeah.
Okay. Edward says, "Well, I guess we'll see. What this one costs." The wheel spins around. It's a backpack.
Crap. Alright, then I will give up one of my, the good vials that I have, my,
The glass steel
try
vials?
those in. Yeah. So, just one of them, so that I'd only have two instead of three. And then, I'll give up, let's see. Well, it could be very beneficial in the future too, even though we haven't used it yet, but that bond of currency too. It could have been worth a lot of money.
The what?
Is that bond of currency that I had from the beginning.
Yeah,
That's worth a lot of money.
but it's worth a lot of money, but it's not worth anything to you because you haven't really made any attempt to use it or anything.
Yeah. But I just don't even know what else I have as items, that are, because I don't use most of my items. So.
Yeah.
Except for, again, my Stratos files.
Hey, right away.
So glass steel vial plus the bond?
Yeah.
Those vials, especially with how much you use them, you set them down on the table, and you smack the button along with the rolled up scroll with Adjunct Cope's signature on it. Bond of currency. There we go. and sure enough, they fade into smoke, and that 5th torch above the door does light up, and the door opens, and they're both a little. You get the sense that they're a little bit frustrated that you guys are getting a lot further into the game than they intended you to. But the door's open though. You guys heading into the next room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys walk into a familiar chamber with Trust or Forsake buttons on the pedestal. Ketis, just as you enter, you feel that tracing fingertip against your palm again. This time it's tracing the Thief Can't symbol for things are going to pop off soon.
Okay, do I need to confirm? Or
He
is it
didn't.
just
Yeah, it wasn't a question. He was just telling you that basically that. Like it's a symbol for be ready, basically.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep my perception up then. Look around the room when we go in.
Go ahead and roll
yeah.
roll perception. Yeah. You didn't take a penalty, so no bad luck for you on this one.
There it is.
That's a good roll. Oh, never mind. It's not. You had a 17 and a 4, so with the disadvantage. Yeah, you don't notice anything standing out. Just the digitized kind of pixelated versions of each of your faces are up on the screen above the pedestal. They begin to spin through over and over again, and the roll was Nivara. Edward says, "Yay, Nivara! Isn't this exciting? I mean, you know what's up, right? If things work in your favor, you can breeze right through the next challenge. Or you could face your doom. It's up to you. Have at it."
Forsake again?
I don't even care anymore, fucking.
As soon as Gita says that, it's just billowing black smoke out of his mouth.
Alright. I guess Forsake.
Alright, big light up letters. You chose Forsake. They chose Forsake. You guys are fucked. And the doors open up, and they're both kind of standing, side by side, like motioning off to the door to the next chamber. So basically, you guys are on the ultra hard mode now, because I think Forsake is. Let me look for.
We both get the hard mode, right?
Both of you are on the hard mode, not the extreme difficulty, but the hard version this time.
Okay.
You guys heading in?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You head on through the door. And this time it actually looks like it did in the first round, where you step in and there are these kind of four different looks like kind of air ducts basically above you, and there's a lot of mechanic sounding noises coming from above, and all of them are kind of feeding towards the center of this room, and you're just hearing kind of all the noises and everything, and Lydia and Edward kind of step off to either side. This is the room that you fought the exploding slime in. There's a big circle on the floor and then all this stuff up above. In fact, where you found Cam. But the... you won't have Forsake because you guys didn't have... Yeah, that's not the extreme one, so it's just a hard mode version. Alright. Who... I guess each of you can roll a d6. So, Ketis, go first. There are these giant cubes, just d6s in the middle of the room. Alright, you throw that, and it lands on an image that you recognize from books, not something you've ever actually seen, but from like drawings and books of a manticore. Let's see, Navarro, throw the next one. That is electric, an electric manticore, and Peter, roll the last one. That is a flying electric manticore, and they're giddy and bouncing around. This is going to be so dangerous, but I know you guys are up to the challenge. And they're just kind of bouncing around and clapping while the machinery above is just making all this noise. One channel of the 4 is not moving, but the other 3 are moving like a conveyor belt. And you're hearing kind of banging noises of something rattling around in the ducting above you. And as it moves off towards the end, something is dropped down through it, and this box shatters as soon as it hits the ground. The kind of box that's dropped from the ceiling hits the ground, and something that looks very much like this pops out. Roll initiative.
Man.
I dropped a 2, goddammit.
A 1 and a 3. Sako, you have advantage on that, so go ahead and roll it again, and if it's less than a 13, then I'll set it back to 13. 11, yeah, I'll set it back to 13 then. It is Sako, Peter's turn first.
All right.
So this thing crashed to the ground. It's like glowing with electricity. There's just bolts of electricity just kind of coursing through its skin. Let me go ahead and turn the visibility on. There you go. It hasn't moved yet or anything, but basically you can see that it's about to lift itself up into the air.
All right, give me a second here. How far away is it from me, would you say?
All three of you are about 15 feet from it.
15 feet. All right, I'd like to take a few steps back. Let me go. Hold on a second.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move as far back to the wall as I can. So 30 feet if possible.
Okay.
For a total of 45 feet. And cast Vitriolic Sphere.
Okay. What level?
We're going to do level 5.
You want to change that to either combat or standard in the bottom left. Combat will mark it off, like when you mark off things, but either way is fine. But either that or standard. Combat's easier to find your stuff, so either 4 or 5, you said?
Yeah, 5. I just marked off a level 5 spell.
All right, so at 5th level, that is... I know we've all read it, but I'll put it up anyways. You point at a location within range, and a glowing 1-foot diameter ball of emerald acid streaks there and explodes in a 20-foot radius sphere. Each creature in that area must make a dex saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 10d4 acid damage and another 5d4 at the end of its next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half initial damage and no damage on its next turn. At higher levels, when you use a 5th or higher, initial damage increased by 2d4. What?
I'm sorry, you said we were 15 or 20 feet away?
It explodes into 20. So yeah, Kiedis and Nivara would be in range of that with the explosion.
Oh, I thought we were at 20 feet. Shoot.
Yeah, you're 15.
I made a mistake on that one. Can I cast something different instead?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with the fire bolt.
Okay. Go ahead and uncheck your spell slot then, so you don't have it wasted. You still have a ton of spell slots. You haven't burned any of them, and you're getting near the end of this place. So I mean, if there's something else in there you want to use.
Yeah, you know what? That does kind of make sense.
Like you guys are always really conservative with using your spell slots, but I mean it's fine. It's a perfectly legitimate way to play. But you could probably make things easier for yourselves if you use some of your big things earlier on instead of trying to save them in case you get something later.
All right, you know what? Yeah. When I did the move, can I just make sure that I'm not that no one is in range? In other words, Nivara and Kiedis are not in front of me. Can I sidestep back?
Yeah, of course. I would assume that you would do that anyways, just because if you're going to send something through, you wouldn't do it in a way that would hurt them or could hurt them. So.
All right. As long as it's clear with a 5-foot wide clearance, I'm going to shoot Agnazar's Scorcher, and I'm going to hit that at level 4.
All right. That one is a line of roaring flame 30 feet long and 5 feet wide emanates from you in a direction you choose. Each creature in the line must make a dex saving throw. Creature takes 3d8 fire damage on a failed save or half as much on a success. Higher levels, when you cast a spell using a slot of 3rd level or higher, damage increased by 1d8 for each slot level above 2nd. So if you said 3rd is what you're going to cast it at?
Level 4.
Okay, alright, so it'd be 2d8 in addition to, so 5d8 total. Let me adjust the damage real quick. There you go, it is now 5d8. I gotta set it backwards, or back afterwards, of course. Go ahead and target him, you did. Alright, go ahead and hit the cast button. So you kind of are not running, but making a tactical retreat, let's say, backwards to, off to one side a little bit to get yourself a nice clean line, and you hold both hands out in front of you, I guess you wouldn't need that. We'll say you have it anyways, especially with the materials of the college. You reach into a pocket as you're kind of making this retreat and pull out just a hardened chitinous red dragon scale that you hold and kind of palm into your left hand. And using your right hand, you kind of smack the back of your left palm. And as soon as you do this line of just plasma, like solid white plasma, like Super Metroid when you get that plasma gun at the end, like that, burns out through your hand and just shocks straight through this thing, burning a hole straight through one of its wings, right where the wing connects to the shoulder. Go ahead and roll damage on it. It is 5d8. It failed its save, so 17 damage. Yeah, it's not resistant or anything, so it burned a solid hole about 6 or 8 inches in diameter, right at the base of the wing, right where it connects to its shoulder. That is marked off your 4th slot.
Yeah.
Right. And let me fix the damage on that real quick. That it for your turn. Any bonus actions?
That's pretty much it.
All right, go ahead and hit the next button if you would. And I fixed Agonizer Scorcher. It is Navarre's turn. Now remember, you have disadvantage, or you have -2, because he's not more than 60 feet away from you. You're 15 feet away from him. You have -2 on any ranged attacks, unless you get further away, and then it'll go to disadvantage.
Okay, well, first off, I'm gonna rage.
You getting pissed at this place?
Bad now.
Yes.
Black smoke is bloody constantly.
And I'm gonna use a wild shape.
Okay.
I'm going to use the giant eagle.
All right, let's bring up your wild shape form. Let me drop this in the combat tracker. There we go. You're a 6. I'm going to go ahead and make the initiative the same on this one, and we'll just skip your regular turn to bring it down to this one. Go ahead and use your wild shape character sheet.
Okay.
And giant eagle, you said?
Yeah.
All right.
Airbend.
And yeah, I'm just gonna fly up in the air because that takes my action and my bonus action. So.
Okay. Yeah, you still have your movement. So how high up are you going? Giant eagle's movement is 80 feet, damn, of flying speed.
Nice.
So,
How high up does the ceiling go?
You don't see a ceiling. It's just like black smoke.
Alright, I'll go up 60 feet.
Okay.
It's not too far away, but
Okay. Yeah, we'll say that, I
hopefully
mean,
out of range.
because you were close enough to him going 60 feet up, we'll just call it that you're, 60, 65 feet from him right now, from the Manticore. Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, then it is Ketis' turn.
Okay. I'm going to put my shield up. I'm going to move.
I was kind of surprised you
Another
didn't throw
50.
that shield on the table, by the way.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been the difference between you dying and not dying,
So I was
2
thinking
extra
too.
HP.
Obviously, I could get another one later, but that doesn't help us in here.
Yeah.
Kind of need to get through here. So.
Yeah, that's not even a special shield. It's just a regular shield.
Yeah, but it's definitely saving my ass though. So.
Yeah.
Put my shield up, and I'm going to move another 15 feet away because I was 15, right? And
Yep.
so that went 30 feet away from me.
Yeah, so you still have 25 feet because your movement's 40, so because of mobile.
Okay. And then I'm going to put my crow's mark on him. So
Okay.
that's my bonus. Okay. And then do I need to hit the other one? No, that's just...
It's just the effect on
Yeah.
him. Yeah, you did the right thing. The other one
Okay.
is to heal you. Or, I mean, if you're going to hit him, then you'll put the damage on him, but you have to see if you hit first or not.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to see if I can hit him with a blight.
Okay. Just by casting it, you mean? Yeah, because you don't have the ring anymore, so.
Mhm.
All right. Go ahead and... Yeah, you have him targeted. You jerks.
Sweet.
His saves are not doing good. Where's the necromantic energy washes over the creature of your choice? You can see within range, draining the moisture and vitality from it. Target must make a con saving throw. Takes 8d8 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much on a success. No effect on undead or constructs. It's not a plant creature, so that doesn't matter. You were cast. Oh, never mind. You don't have higher levels. You have just your
5 or whatever.
Yeah. And there's no component for this, so you just hold your hand out and send out this kind of beam of roiling green and black energy towards him. He did fail his save. It burns. Basically, he was facing towards Peter where he got burned, but it kind of roils over him, and you see like a desiccation, like basically like melting it away, kind of similar to what Peter looked like when the life was taken from him, the 20 years, as it kind of shrinks in on itself and becomes visibly slightly smaller as the moisture is pulled out from him. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay. Does Crow's Mark work with spell damage?
Yes. So you need to, you need to hit the effect from your Crow's Mark, so that it's on you. If you just click it, it'll do it. There you go.
Yeah, I clicked. Yeah, I was gonna say it's the other one, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then roll damage.
Yeah, exactly. God damn it, you fuckers. I make hard bosses and you assholes like get super lucky on rolls and screw all my things up. Alright, that stays on him, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. That if your turn?
Yeah, because my bonus action was already used on everything.
Yeah, you used it to put your Crow's Mark up. Alright.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to hit the effect on my rage. Do I need to hit the
you
effect
did. Yeah, you definitely want to hit
I think
that.
you
Yeah.
did.
No, she hit the cast, but she didn't hit the effect on it.
Because
Because that's what actually gets her. Yeah, exactly, her resistance. Yeah. Yeah, extra damage when she hits, and half damage from any melee, like mundane types of damage. It was about to lift off anyways, but it is going to, after being kind of bombarded from two angles, from different kind of beams of magical energy, it is going to spin itself in a circle and fling its tail, like snapping it like a whip, and sends out these two giant spikes, like javelin-sized spikes, one at each of you, at Ketis and Peter rather. It is a 5 to hit.
Can I cast a reaction?
You can.
Throw shield up for my bracer.
Okay. It would have hit. It was a 22. What's your AC? AC is 12. It won't help. Normally it would, but that was too high of a
gotcha.
roll. So I mean, I would say you saw it coming at you and would know that it wasn't gonna, like, normally I wouldn't tell you this, but I don't want to deplete this for no reason. Basically, your AC is a 12, the AC of shield would be 5, which makes your AC a 17. He got a 22, so it still would have hit anyways. And I would say that just in the moment you see this coming at you and know that that even shield is not going to help you this time. It's just too perfect of a hit coming at you. Is there a different reaction you want to use, or was that the only thing you had?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. This spike comes sailing straight at you. They don't hit all that hard, so it's not too much of a concern, but does 7 damage to you as this tail spike that's like javelin size goes sailing straight through your shoulder. It doesn't stay there. It's barbed, but it goes straight through your shoulder and just rips through the flesh of your trap, basically the muscle between your shoulder and your neck, and just tears it wide open. That arm is going to be very wounded and hard to use, your left arm, which is also the one you lost a finger from for a little bit. Same kind of spike heading for Ketis, which, Ketis, you had already thrown your shield up just in time as this thing comes sailing towards you, and you kind of throw it up just in time and knock it out of the way, and it goes plinking off end over end until it flings against and out through the smoke and is no longer visible. And with that, it is going to beat its wings as hard as it can towards the ground. It takes one solid one, and it's too heavy, it doesn't lift off. It takes another solid beat of these wings, and it lifts itself up, and then starts to kind of get itself further and further up in the air. It is going to move itself up as high as it can to get away from the two of you, because it saw both of you as dangerous. It is up 50 feet in the air. Its flying speed is 50 feet. It is now 50 feet in the air, putting it about 15 feet below the giant eagle that is Nivara up above. That's it for its turn. Peter, what are you doing?
I'm going to cast Magic Missile, but I'm going to cast it at level 3.
Okay. Let's see, where... Magic Missile, there it is. I think we all know what Magic Missile does, probably, but just in case. You create 3 glowing darts of magical force. Each dart hits a creature of your choice that you can see within range. The dart deals 1d4 plus 1 force damage to its target. The darts all strike simultaneously, and you can direct them to hit one creature or several. When you cast it at a higher level, the second slot or higher becomes 1 more dart for each level above first. Sorry, what level are you going to use?
Level 3.
Level 3, okay. So you'll get 2 more than the initial, which is 4. 3. Okay, so you're gonna get 5 darts, and each one does 1d4 plus 1, and there's no way for them to miss. They home in and automatically hit him, even though he's up there. So you're basically there's no missing or anything like that. So go ahead and mark off your 3rd level spell slot.
Yep, already marked off.
Okay. And you have him targeted, so just click the damage button 5 times. As all of these kind of glowing, spiky beams or orbs smash into him. Jeez, dude. Look at, like, I don't want to point this out. I don't want to make you sad. But, like, you rolled a 4, that's good. You rolled a 3, that's good. And then 1, 1, 1. Like, minimum damage for 3 of yours. What's that?
Science.
As each of these kind of smack into him, you see that although this kind of only just started, he's already, like, as they've hit him kind of up in the air, he's starting to lose elevation just from this. Like, it looks like he's looking pretty beat up already, and he's kind of struggling to keep himself in the air. Any bonus actions or anything for Peter?
Just kind of scurry, run backwards a little bit to get some more distance from him, and brace for anything that he might do, because those spikes kind of sucked.
Okay. Alright, Nivara's turn.
Alright, well, I guess I'm just gonna kind of dive bomb his back by, like, where his wings are.
Okay. You've got 15 feet above him, so yeah, you can dive into him.
Okay. So, is it cast or attack for?
Let me get back to your giant
Because I've got
eagle.
both beak and talon.
I would say let's do beak. Well, I guess are you going head first or feet first?
Head first.
Head first. All right, then let's do beak. And I would say the damage on that doesn't seem heavy enough for what you're doing, right? That seems really low. I guess you're going to get some from your rage, but go ahead and roll it, but I think mechanically I'm going to add a little bit to it, potentially, depending on if it's successful or not. Yeah, go ahead and hit the cast button. Oh, you need to target him first, actually, so target him and then do it. There you go. You had him targeted. Why didn't that not work? It was a 12 anyways. It's below his AC. So you try to dive bomb. You kind of flap your wings as hard as you can to get yourself just a little extra height, and then immediately face down at him and just kind of sail at him with your beak extended to try to just tear into its wing with your beak. But it had just kind of flapped its wings to get out of the way of these missiles that kept kind of compounding into it, and it's just out of the way, and you go sailing straight underneath it. You're now 5 feet below it.
Alright, well then I guess I'll just...
You get a multi-attack though, so you get one with its beak and one with its talons. So I mean, you can still fly up to him and try to claw at him.
Yeah, alright, I'll try that.
Okay. Also misses.
Dang!
Yeah, you bat yourself up. His AC is 16, I think, and you got a 14. Let me see here real quick. I think he's 16. 17, actually. Yeah, so you kind of bat your wings to get back up to him. You're still harrying him and keeping him annoyed. I would say ranged attacks from below would have advantage to hit him because he can't do anything basically without you're kind of irritating him. The same with it Toki often does for animals. But that if your turn.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm above him.
Okay, you have enough movement, so as long as you stay within 5 feet, you'll just be above him.
Okay.
That work?
Yeah.
Okay. Ketis' turn.
Okay. Shield back up, of course. And then I'm going to aim for his wing and see if I can hit it. That part that Peter hit already started to pop up.
Okay.
See if I can hit it with that now.
What's the range on it?
120.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Great step.
I would say advantage, but because you have disadvantage right now, click the advantage button.
Okay, I was going to say I already clicked it.
Yeah,
Because that would just make it even, right?
well, I think I'm not sure if it's applying disadvantage. I don't remember if exhaustion applies disadvantage for.
It rolled
It doesn't. It doesn't roll for attacks. Okay, good. So you actually got full advantage, not just even.
Do I need to re-roll that?
No, you're good. That's how I wanted it to be. I just wasn't sure if it was going to make it a flat roll or an advantage roll. But you send out another kind of a ball this time instead of a beam of that roiling green and black energy that impacts with his wing and causes him to kind of spin slightly just before he kind of rights himself and flaps himself to kind of hold himself still, while Ivara's giant eagle form is still directly above him. Go ahead and roll damage on it. He's also deafened, by the way, so I don't know that that's going to matter too much, but he can't hear all of a sudden.
Nice.
God damn. Fucking maximum roll. 19 damage because of your crow's mark. Alright, you're going to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I still have advantage?
Yes, yeah. Navarre's
Okay.
still in range of him, so... Think of it like advanced flanking rules. We're just talking with a Z-axis because we're doing vertical right now.
Nice.
Also hits. You dropped a 15. You had a 15 and a 16, so...
Not as good, but
he is looking quite beat up. That it for your turn?
yes.
Okay. It is the Manicore's turn again. And it is all of that kind of electrical energy that has been kind of roiling through its body as it's been hit. Every time it's been hit, it just seems to be like charging it up more and more. And you see it kind of rear its lion head back and facing down at Ketis and Peter, who are on the ground but near enough to each other. It is going to send out what is essentially a multiple beams of electricity out towards the both of you, just to that general area that impacts the ground and then sparks off and tries to snap up to the both of you. Both of you make a dex save. You need to beat a 15.
Can I use my Shield Master as my bonus or reaction?
Shit.
Or would it affect us?
Yeah, I think it would. God damn it. Let me look. You guys take all my fucking fun away.
Huh?
Never get to have any fun.
You
let's
just
see.
told us that we need to start, using our better stuff, and now we are, and you're mad.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. No, that's what I wanted. I want you guys to, the more, kind of familiar you are with your characters and the stuff you can do, the harder of the things I can throw at you, which is more fun. So.
Yeah.
All right. If you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dex saving throw and only take half damage, use your reaction to take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw. Interpose. Okay. So it would be half damage if you failed. So if you succeed, you're going to take no damage. If you fail, you're going to take half damage.
Okay. And then a dex save?
Yeah, dex save.
Okay.
All right, Peter.
I have to beat a 15, you said?
Yep.
I'm going to use my 17 portent.
God damn it, you asshole. Motherfucker. Alright, so I just marked it off for you, Sako. Earlier in the day, you somehow foresaw that you were going to be blasted with kind of electrical energy and knew that that when this thing happens, you needed to dive to the left in just such a way. So you kind of do this acrobatic kickflip and just bounce right over this beam of electricity that was about to shock you straight in the heart, but you bounce right over it and flip wizard, land yourself safely to one side, wasting my bad guy's cool abilities. And,
Parkour.
and it seems like most of the electrical energy has been expelled from him. Let me see if he gets back. It's his turn. No, he doesn't. That's it for his turn. He's not. Well, shit. He's gonna try to, after seeing that beam didn't have the impact he was hoping for. He is going to try to get down towards you, and in so doing, he's going to provoke an opportunity attack from Navarra's eagle form, because you guys are a bigger threat he sees than the eagle at the moment. So he's going to try to dive down towards you, which would be a movement of 50 feet, which would get him basically right back to the ground. But it's going to give Navarra's eagle form an opportunity attack. So
Just pick whichever one I want.
yep, you can use either one.
I'm assuming I'd probably use Talon since I'm
It seems
floating
more
above
likely.
it.
Yeah, and the talons do more damage too. So, well, you finally hit with it.
Nice, baby.
So as he's kind of pulling his wings in to kind of begin to dive himself down, you rake your claws at his back, just down, just right between the wings, basically, and slash into him. Go ahead and roll the damage on it. Real close. The kind of gore that sails out from it is just raining down off of him. As he's sailing down, there's just blood pouring out of his back in this kind of stream as he's trying to dive down as fast as he can. And he crashes into the ground, just causing another kind of eruption that splats out from his back and splatters against the inside of both of his wings. And he just lands and just roars loudly in Ketis' face. He's now on the ground between Peter and Ketis, but facing Ketis at the moment. And he does not look very healthy. Peter's turn.
All right. About what's the distance between
He
Manticore
is-
and myself and also Ketis?
He's 15 feet from you, and Ketis is on the other side.
All right. We're going to use a firebolt then. I'm facing his back. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, definitely. Shoot him in the back. Firebolt.
All right. Go ahead and hit the cast button on it. What you have? Yeah, you've been targeted. Okay. Plus 10, damn. Yeah, he's faced away from you and like isn't even. He knows you're there and he knows you're a threat, but it's looking dangerous enough that he's just going to try to bite Ketis' face off before he deals with you. And you send the bolt out. That as his wings have kind of flown out in as he was roaring in Ketis' face, he's kind of extended his wings out, trying to be as intimidating as possible. And the burning small orb just crashes straight into one of his exposed wings. Go ahead and roll damage.
Nice.
You guys are no fun. You know what, Sako, you tell me how do you want to do this? How do you finish this thing?
I shot him square in the back as he roared up to mess with Ketis.
So the orb of fire just kind of erupts over his wings and begins to burn. Like the wing was already pretty well damaged anyways, but it just kind of starts to just incinerate. And what this thing was created from, of course, was just made out of this black smoke anyways, and it begins to dissolve, kind of like the items that you put on the wheel. And it just, as it's roaring in this furious anger, it just kind of collapses into dust, and then the smoke is pulled back up to the top, and it disappears, and it is dead. And you jerks killed my monsters and didn't even fucking get hurt enough to count for it. All right. Let me take the. Are you staying in bird form? What are you doing for Navarra?
Well, we're probably gonna end up having to go to another room, so I'd end up losing my bird form anyways.
It
right?
would dispel anyways. Yeah, if you could even fit through the door, for that matter.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of glide back down and go back to being me.
All right, and I will drop the bird form off of there. And Cam, one-eyed and was cheering you guys along from the bag. But Edward and Lydia both seem very dejected and angry. They're trying to pretend that they're excited that you guys are doing so well, but at the same time they're very unhappy that you guys are getting so far in this game. And are not like in rough enough shape that they would be happy. Does that make sense? Like they obviously they want as much suffering out of you as possible, and they don't feel like you've suffered enough to get this far. Which, I mean, you guys have figured out that that's what the goal of this place is, of course. So, but this time they're trying to pretend that they're happy for you, but they've barely any clapping or anything. They're just kind of the door open and they're kind of just pointing at it and with like almost sarcastic kind of emotion to the door. You guys going through?
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Okay. There it is. You guys, you can tell that this chamber that you've stepped into is not like the other ones that you've been in since you've been here in Wonderland. In fact, this is looks very much different and doesn't look designed. It looks almost industrial. It doesn't look like it's part of the park. It looks like you've stepped out of the park somehow. It's pretty dark in here. You can tell that this chamber is still circular, but it's way, way bigger than any of the rooms that you've been in so far. It's just cavernous. It's huge, like a giant warehouse. And behind you, you see this massive cylinder. You've just stepped out of this giant cylinder. And it's what you just stepped out of, but it's completely featureless except for a small label on the exterior wall just above the door that you stepped out of, and has your guys' names printed on it. And as you look around, you see that there's a bunch of these cylinders. They're all exact same, all over the place. There's 38 of them to be exact, but basically you just see you're surrounded by these giant tall cylinders, like the one you just stepped out of, all wrapped, or all of them are wrapped in a huge central staircase. So basically each of these cylinders has a giant staircase that goes around it up to this big round central staircase, which climbs about 20 feet up to a circular platform at the center of the chamber. And up above, there's a spotlight comes on from the ceiling, and it's shining down to that central platform, which you can get a better angle, to see it if you go up there. But basically from down here, you see that each of these giant cylinders, like the one you just stepped out of, have a staircase that goes up top to get up there. What do you guys do?
Yes. I don't
Just
know.
gather my wits and slowly move up.
Right. And Peter, you're kind of, holding one hand over your left shoulder, just, holding your right hand over your left shoulder, just kind of keep pressure on that, because that javelin went through your shoulder, hurt like a motherfucker. But I don't think you guys were even hurt except for that, were you? Is that the only hit it got on you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it didn't even try to hit me.
So disappointing. All right, so you guys climb all the way up to the top. The central platform that it goes to, that all those kind of ladders lead up to, spans about 30 feet in diameter. You see a few dozen seated figures, all positioned around a raised catwalk that cuts through the middle of the circle. So basically, there's a big circle up top, like another chamber kind of up there, and there's a catwalk that goes right down the middle of it. And then on either side are all these seated figures. But all these figures are stationary because they're all mannequins. And these mannequins, they're the same ones that you saw during the heart attack game. They're all dressed up in high fashions, kind of like the stuff you've seen Lydia and Edward wearing. Most of them are wearing like fashionable armors and weapons and things like that. More fashionable than functional, let's say. And simultaneously, they all point up to the catwalk where the spotlight is illuminating it. Basically, they're pointing to where the light is on the catwalk. What are you guys doing?
No. Go
Just walk to it.
stand it.
Okay.
Next
Do a
move.
low turn.
Okay.
Do a
You
low
guys.
turn on the catwalk.
I mean, you could do a fashion show, but you guys are, still decently beat up, even if the stupid Manicore didn't do it. But you walk over there, and as soon as you guys kind of step under the light, Edward and Lydia's voice, you didn't see them, but their voices behind you. Edward says, "You did it. I don't know how, but you did it." And Lydia says, "Very few people have stood where you're standing now, having conquered suffering itself to claim their prize. Give them a hand, folks." And every mannequin that is seated around you just stands up and is like giving you a big kind of standing ovation. It's just wood banging on wood. And Edward says, "This resolve, this desire to do whatever it takes, no matter the cost, to save yourselves. Do you know who you three remind me of?"
Who?
Edward says, "Us." And Lydia says, she kind of interrupts him. She says, "There were 3 of us lifetimes ago. We had another sibling, a younger brother. His name was Keats. It was the 3 of us surviving against all odds. The world against us. But Keats, he got sick, and he wouldn't get better, so Edward and I joined a necromantic circle to try and save him." And Edward interrupts. He says, "We were unsuccessful, but we found joy in our newfound powers. Eventually, we discovered how to channel suffering to create new garments for ourselves. Fantastic garments. We learned how to channel it to other forms. We learned how to summon small household objects, and then bigger objects, and then finally summoning entire rooms from the ether. And that's how we came up with Wonderland. It's a perfect centrifuge for extracting suffering from those who, fueled by greed, come to visit us. Wonderland has taken many forms over the past few centuries, but these games are actually kind of a new touch that we're pretty excited about." And Lydia interrupts. She says, "And thanks to your Statera scales, business has been booming lately." Roll a perception, all 3 of you.
Stupid disadvantage.
Damn. I haven't seen one from Becky yet.
I'm gonna.
Okay. Just making sure it was still coming. Okay. Peter, you noticed something stood out to you in the way that she worded that. That's what she said, and I'm not going to point out what it was that stood out to you, but something seemed a little odd about the way she worded that. All 3 of you, Ben and Becky can know that. Ketis and Nivara didn't notice it. Peter noticed it. I just won't say what. But anyways, as soon as she says that, the surrounding mannequins, all of them, every mannequin kind of walks up to the catwalk, and they're kind of like reaching for you guys, like they're desperate fans just trying to get a hold of the hem of your clothes or something. And Edward says, "This place has always thrived because of, well, what else? Advertising. We've got a few consistent channels. I mean, surely you received a brochure in the mail, or saw our billboards, or met someone drawn here by a beam of magical light. So those are just a few tools of the trades, and they served us well during our residency here. But do you know what the most successful type of advertising is?"
Word of mouth.
Yeah, I was gonna say word of mouth. Talking about this place.
Word of mouth. And that's what he says. Yeah, he repeats it back to you. And Edward turns, specifically looking at Ketis. He says, "Ketis, you landed on Skull in that round earlier, didn't you?"
Oh yes, I did.
Bad luck. Roll a perception on Navara and Peter. Damn, even the disadvantage isn't screwing you guys. Both of you, Navara and Peter, you guys see this happen. Ketis, you just hush for a minute. You see Ketis, both of you, Peter and Navara, see Ketis reel backwards, like threatening to fall straight back and off of the catwalk here. You guys are pretty high up. And you both see a kind of a light cast out the back of his body for just the briefest moment as he falls backwards. And then you see him kind of spasm violently and come to, and he throws a leg back to catch himself before he loses balance, and he throws Ruin, his sword, he throws it out behind him and kind of catches, that leg to kind of hold himself up so he doesn't fall. He steadies himself up on Ruin, on his sword, and he stands up to face you, and Kita says, guys, I think Wonderland isn't all that bad. I feel like I've learned a lot about myself here, and I feel like our friendship has grown even stronger, don't you think? Before Peter and Navara respond there, Ketis, what are you doing? This will be complicated, but what are you doing?
I'm assuming just trying to move, but I probably can't. Like, taking control of myself, in my words.
Okay. But not saying anything?
Well, I'm gonna say, I'm not sure where that came from. That wasn't me. If I can.
Okay. The words definitely don't come out. You have a very strange and singular sensation of having your soul knocked out from your still living body. It was as soon as you heard the Sotera scales ring and you felt like you were kicked by a horse, followed by this absolute numbness, that if you had any breath would take it away, and you see the back of yourself. You see your own back for a moment, which is fucking weird, of course, and then your vision starts to go gray, and in fact the world begins to go shades of black and white, and you're floating backwards into the ethereal plane, into Crow's Thicket. And the scene around you is still there as it was moments ago. You kind of see yourself catching yourself from falling, and then you see yourself use Ruin to steady yourself and then stand up. You see Peter and Navara sort of looking at you, at your body, not the floating you. And you see some other stuff too. You see figures in the room. You see these small white humanoid figures that are hiding behind mannequins and stuck to the ceiling. They're clinging to the ceiling and the walls, like all over the place. Very small, halfling kind of small, except very small and spindly. But pure white, like milky white. Eyes are barely there, just covered in white. As soon as you start to look at them, though, they scurry away and out of sight. But you also see a tear in the fabric of space that is behind you, and it feels like you're being pulled towards, and it looks very familiar. It's because it looks like something you saw when during your time in Oliver's lab when Legion attacked you. There was a rift open to Crow's Thicket there, where the souls of the deceased were kind of taken to after their death in the material plane, and you're kind of slowly drifting towards it. Because right now you're a soul with no body. The body in front of you is not you right now. Navara, Peter, what are you guys doing?
Is there a way I can cast a detect thoughts on Ketis right now just to see where his mind is at?
Sure. I would say in the moment. So basically, because you guys did well on your perception rolls there, that you noticed Ketis, something light fly out of the back of his body, and then him act strangely all of a sudden. I would say that, yeah, you in the moment would react fast enough to be able to do that, sure. So you guys, Navara and Peter, you guys see Ketis catch himself. You see Lydia now step out from behind Ketis, and she has this, she's wearing this black and white elegant Vindian era dress, and she smiles, and you see the smile creep onto Ketis' face. You see the same kind of smile creep onto Ketis' face. And for a second you see the faint figure of Edward surrounding Ketis, like kind of a glow around him, and his image fades, and you hear Ketis say, I think I'm going to head to the capital and tell everyone I meet to go down here to Wonderland as soon as possible. Just lots of riches, more than I could even carry out. Go ahead and you can mark off your spell and cast it.
All right, marked off.
Good. Go ahead and hit the cast button. Detect thoughts. For duration, you can read the thoughts of certain creatures. When you cast a spell as your action each turn. Yeah, I was pretty sure that's what it was. Okay. Oh, he never mind, sorry. He needs to beat an 18. Natural 20. Finally, my guys get something. Let's see, what do you get if they succeed? Do you get anything
Didn't
if they
my
succeed?
important kick in just now?
God damn it. You have a 13 and a 4.
Yeah, I thought that 4 was there, wasn't it?
I thought that 4 was there, huh? Fucking assholes. I give you guys too many cool things and you use them against me. That was actually Sako's choice, the Divination Wizard. Alright, let's see here. Initially learn the surface thoughts of the creature. Shift your attention to other creatures, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, so you got the surface thoughts anyways. It's only if you probe, so this was the probing. The actual thoughts were... I would say that the kind of general feeling that you're getting from it is, I can't believe that worked, I can't believe that worked, I can't believe that worked, finally we got it to work. And kind of just repeating that kind of thing over and over to itself. You immediately know from, oh, by the way, was that a coin you use? Yeah, you took a copper piece, just, a quick reaction from all of your military experience. You took a copper piece, kind of bit it carefully, and then pressed it to your forehead, and then threw it on the ground. And then immediately are getting this. It kind of plinked through this catwalk of the kind of spidered steel, and plinks down, falls down the 60 feet of the floor, and you hear it clink against the ground as you're reading these thoughts from him. And sure enough, you immediately know that is definitely not Ketis in there anymore. Something that she did, something that Lydia did, knocked Ketis's soul out of his body, leaving it free and open, and Edward stepped inside. That they were not physical beings, and they're still not. And you in kind of, especially with that roll, with the success of this, you know that these beings are incorporeal. They're spirits of some kind. You don't necessarily know what kind yet, but anyways, it possessed essentially Ketis's body. But Ketis is not in there anymore. You don't know where Ketis is, but you, in sensing the thoughts of the creature standing in front of you, know that that's Ketis's body, but he is not in there. So what's Navarre doing? Was there anything else you were specifically looking for with that on Peter?
That's pretty much it. Just wanted to determine if Ketis was in Ketis anymore.
Nope.
Okay, so I don't actually know that that's not Ketis in there, right?
I would say that, tell you what, do a flat intelligence roll. I would even say wisdom, actually. I'll let you do wisdom if you choose to, just because your wisdom is better. Just to kind of intuit what occurred. Because what you saw, you'd be familiar enough with by now, especially having seen Peter or Ketis pulling things out. Yeah, I'd say that you saw something leave Ketis's back. You saw a light go out of him, and you know that he's acting strange all of a sudden. So if you can make the mental leap between those, you think Navarre would figure that out, then we can go from there, but there's going to need to be a step there in the middle. Basically, if Peter tells you, that's fine, or whatever the case is, but you don't have long to react. I'm just giving you, kind of one round to do something, and then we'll probably call the session here.
Alright, well, just based on the fact that he's not acting like himself, I would probably use hold person just to hold him still. Just so he doesn't do anything weird.
Okay. Let's see. What level is hold person?
Second, I think? Yeah, second level.
Hold person. And that's concentration? It is. Alright. He needs to make a DC 17 wisdom save. So go ahead and go ahead and mark off the spell slot. And he rolled a 10 plus 4. He got a 14, so he did not beat the save. Choose a humanoid you can see within range. Target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed for the duration. So concentration up to 1 minute. He's paralyzed for up to 1 minute. Yeah, you reached into your bag and pulled out a small, thin piece of iron, like a paperclip that had been folded out, and bend it into a circle. And as you see this, you see these kind of glowing yellow binds begin to appear around Ketis, and both of his arms are snapped to his sides. Ruin is... he drops Ruin, and it clatters against the steel of the catwalk there. It is now on the floor beside him. Go ahead and mark off your spell slot, and he is being held for up to 1 minute as long as you can hold your concentration.
Okay.
Okay.
I already marked it off.
All right. And that is where we are going to end today's session. So I guess where we start off next week, Ben probably will, get to take a break for a little bit. But that's where we are.
Fine.
All right.